By the end of this talk, you see how an unseen past has been shaping your present and what you can do next. When we struggle in life, so often the question that arises is, what's wrong with me? We ask it in shame, in silence, sometimes for years. But the truer, kinder question is, what happened to me? Because none of us arrived in this world believing we were unworthy. That story was written later, often, before we had words. Childhood trauma is not only the obvious wounds, violence, abandonment, abuse. It can also be what never happened, the comfort that wasn't offered, the safety that wasn't there, the attunement the child needs and did not receive. Emotional neglect can be as simple and as devastating as a child reaching out for love and finding no one fully present to receive them. That absence leaves a mark, even if we can't remember it clearly. The body and mind adapt in brilliant ways. If love felt uncertain, we might learn to cling tightly or to shut down our longing so we won't be hurt again. If pain felt overwhelming, we might escape into daydreams, food, work, or substances, anything that could soothe or distract. These are not signs of weakness, they are signs of intelligence. They were the best solutions available to a small child in a world that felt unsafe. The trouble is, what once protected us can turn against us later. The same wall that kept pain out now keeps love out. The same habit that soothed us in childhood becomes a chain in adulthood. And yet, when we see it clearly, we can begin to hold those adaptations with compassion. They are not proof of our brokenness, they are proof of how hard we fought to survive. We, all of us, carry these echoes. And by understanding them, we create the space to soften, to heal, and to remember that what once was needed can now be gently released. This is when Anna was a child, she learned to scan a room before speaking. Her father often sat in his chair, newspaper raised like a wall. Her mother moved briskly from task to task, voice clipped, always tired. If Anna tugged at her sleeve, the answer was usually, "Not now." She didn't remember this as cruelty, only as the air she breathed. Over time, she trained herself not to need too much. She became quiet, capable, praised for being so mature. Years later, Anna was 32, sitting across from a man at a cafe. He was polite, handsome, but his eyes drifted to the window as she spoke. She felt a small twist inside, that old familiar ache, but something in her leaned toward it. She told herself, he's just thoughtful, independent, not clingy. A few weeks in, when he forgot her birthday, she brushed it aside. I don't want to be needy, she thought, even as her stomach sank. This was not the first time. Her last partner traveled constantly for work and rarely called. The one before that was charming but always kept part of himself out of reach. Anna's friends noticed. Why do you always pick men who don't show up for you? They asked gently. She laughed it off, saying she liked her space. Inside, though, she wondered why affection always seemed to slip through her fingers, why her chest tightened each time she reached and found distance. In quiet moments, she remembered the kitchen of her childhood, her small hand on her mother's arm, the slight pause before her mother turned away. She didn't think of it as trauma, only as something ordinary. Yet when she looked closely, the pattern was almost too clear. Her heart had learned to chase what was withheld, to find comfort in the familiar ache of distance, to mistake absence for love. From Anna's story, we can draw 3 insights. First, when early attunement is missing, the child learns to expect love as unreliable, and this template often guides adult bonds. Second, we are drawn not just to what feels good, but to what feels familiar, even if it hurts. Third, what once kept us safe from rejection, like numbing our needs or shrinking them down, later makes it harder to accept closeness when it's truly offered. And yet, even in Anna's noticing, something new was stirring. The moment we begin to see the pattern, we create a crack in its hold. Through that crack, light can begin to enter. Marcus was the kind of man people admired. His calendar was always full, his inbox always managed, his voice steady in meetings. Colleagues said he was dependable, sharp, even enviable. If you passed him on the street, phone in hand, suit pressed, coffee balanced just so, you might think he had mastered the art of living. What no one saw were the late nights. After long hours at work, Marcus would collapse onto his couch, scrolling endlessly. Sometimes it was news, sometimes games, sometimes anything that would keep silence at bay. On weekends, he added a few drinks into the mix. Not enough to raise eyebrows, but enough to blur the edges of loneliness. He wasn't reckless. He wasn't falling apart. But underneath the polished surface, something inside him was quietly unraveling. Marcus didn't think of himself as addicted. He thought of himself as disciplined, productive, someone who blew off steam like anyone else. But if he let his guard down, he noticed a strange emptiness rising the moment he set the phone aside, the moment he sat without distraction. Silence felt unbearable. He could work a 12-hour day without blinking, but 5 minutes alone with his own feelings was harder than any deadline. As a boy, Marcus had learned quickly that emotions were not welcome in his house. His father dismissed them with jokes. His mother, already overwhelmed, snapped when he cried. "Toughen up," she'd say. "You're fine." So Marcus adapted. He built a strong shell of competence, buried his softer parts, and grew into the man who could handle anything, except his own heart. Seen with compassion, his scrolling, his drinking, his relentless work weren't moral failings or evidence of weakness, they were solutions. They were his nervous system's clever way of numbing the ache of disconnection, the quiet grief of a child who once needed tenderness and didn't find it. The question isn't why the addiction, but why the pain. And when we see it this way, the story shifts from blame to understanding, from shame to care. Two gentle questions remain for us to carry. What pain in me still waits to be acknowledged? And what softer way might I begin to soothe it without turning away from myself? Imagine for a moment that your body is like a house, and inside that house is a smoke alarm. The alarm is there to protect you, to wake you up, to make sure you survive danger. Now, sometimes that alarm gets set off not only by fire, but by burnt toast or steam from a shower. It's not broken, it's just sensitive, tuned to guard you from harm. And implicit memory works in the same way. These are memories we don't hold in words or images, but in our nervous system, in our muscles, in our breath. When something painful or frightening happened in childhood, an argument, a slammed door, a long silence, we may not remember the details, but our body does. It's stored the sense of danger. So now, even years later, the alarm might go off when something faintly reminds us of the past. This is the mind-body connection, the brain, the nerves, the heart, the gut, all speaking to each other, shaping how safe or unsafe we feel in the present. It's not weakness, it's a survival system doing its best. For example, maybe you're in a meeting and someone raises their voice. Suddenly your chest tightens, your mind goes blank, your heart races. You might think, what's wrong with me? Why am I overreacting? But if we understand implicit memory, we see it differently. Your body remembered an old moment when raised voices meant threat, and the alarm went off to protect you. The hopeful piece is this: alarms can be reset. When we learn to pause, notice, and offer safety to ourselves in small ways, the nervous system slowly begins to trust the present. What once felt like fire can be recognized as steam. And each time we meet that reaction with kindness instead of judgment, the house we live in, our own body, becomes a little calmer, a little safer, a little more like home. The first step toward change is noticing, gently and without judgment. One simple practice is keeping an awareness journal. Nothing elaborate, just a small notebook or a note on your phone. Write down moments when you feel a shift inside, tightness, shut down, or an urge to escape. Note what happened, who was there, and what time it was. Over days, patterns start to emerge. This helps us see our triggers not as random flaws, but as meaningful signals. When you notice a trigger, you can bring in compassionate inquiry. Ask yourself softly, what am I feeling in my body right now? When have I felt this before? What might this part of me be trying to protect? These questions aren't meant to fix anything quickly. They simply shine a light where before there was darkness. They turn judgment into curiosity. Alongside inquiry, practice one somatic pause. Try this. Place your feet flat on the ground. Breathe slowly and let your eyes notice 3 objects around you. This grounds the nervous system, reminding the body it is here now, safe. Even a few seconds of this pause can interrupt the old alarm and invite calm. Choose one boundary to practice this week. It might be as small as saying, I can't take that call right now, or closing your laptop 30 minutes earlier. Boundaries protect the energy you need for healing. Each one reinforces the truth, your needs matter, and seek one safe connection. This could be calling a friend who truly listens, joining a supportive group, or reaching out to a therapist. Healing rarely happens in isolation. Safe connection tells the nervous system, I don't have to carry this alone. Each of these steps matters because they retrain the body and mind to recognize safety, choice, and worthiness. Change begins not with giant leaps, but with consistent, gentle acts of care. This is not a substitute for professional help. If your pain feels overwhelming, please consider reaching out to a qualified therapist or healthcare provider who can walk alongside you in safety and care. Anna, who kept reaching for love that pulled away, and Marcus, who numbed his loneliness with work and scrolling. Both were not broken, only carrying the imprint of old wounds. Their patterns were once protections, clever roots twisted underground. And yet, even through cracked soil, light can rise. Each moment of noticing, each breath, each boundary is like a small green shoot pressing upward. Change doesn't come in a rush, it grows slowly, safely, in tiny wins that add up. What matters is not speed, but direction. The steady turning toward life, toward connection, toward remembering we were always worthy of love. If you've recognized yourself in these stories, take heart. Nothing you discovered here is a sentence. It's a doorway. Healing is not about rushing or erasing the past. It's about meeting yourself with the gentleness you once needed.